Hi, I'm Tatiana Indina, Canon Institute Wilson Center. Well, Mark, I have a more general question. So can you please give your opinion or any prognosis on how will Russian-American relations develop after this new term of Vladimir Putin? So we have a third term already, right? So how can you prognose the development of Russian-American relations?
I don't think it's going to improve. I just think that Putin, has a increasingly negative and embittered attitude toward the United States. The Russian press even derided this American idea that, well, things will get better after the election. That Putin has to be anti-American during the election, but things will be better. And that they issued a statement indicating that, unlike America and some other Western countries, their foreign policy doesn't follow electoral cycles, that it doesn't change after elections. They thought this was a good thing, that they don't have to be concerned about public opinion, apparently. But no, I think that I don't see anything that is likely to improve Russian-American relations. And to me, what's remarkable is that President Obama's new ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, who was one of the great American specialists on Russia and Russian-American relations, there is no stronger advocate of improved Russian-American relations than Michael McFaul. And look how badly they have treated him in Moscow, and especially, almost like claiming he's there to overthrow their government. And it's very upsetting to them that he talks to lots and lots of people, etc. So if they're not, it takes two to tango, and I think that the Obama administration, whether it was a good idea or not, I'll let you decide. But the Obama administration, I think, wanted good relations with Russia, partly because it wanted Russian cooperation in the Middle East, with Iran in particular. But there were other issues that we wanted and hoped for Russian cooperation on, and we haven't gotten it. And in fact, they seem quite proud that they're not giving it to us. So I don't see that changing unless and until they feel much more threatened than they are now, and they need us for whatever reason.
I just would like to get your explanation. Why do you think there is no debate inside Russia on the Syrian situation? Because I didn't see any voices. Even when you looked at the presidential candidates against Putin, they were all supportive of the policy. And you don't see intellectual debate on Syria and people saying this is right or wrong. What's your explanation?
Well, my explanation is that it boils down to prejudice, that Russians in general have a very negative view of Arabs, and that they don't see Arabs as capable of democracy or of doing anything good for the rest of us. And that therefore, and that if the Americans think so, it's just another example of American naivete. Polls show, that something like 60% of the Russian public, at least, supports the Russian government's position on Syria. In other words, they don't see democracy as an outcome of the Arab Spring.
Yeah, how's that playing in the Russian press? Are they seeing these images? Are they seeing the images of dead and tortured?
There's a callousness. There's a callousness with regard to this sort of thing. They're not impressed. That basically, I think that if you said this to them, their argument would be that, well, a lot more would die if the opposition comes to power. In other words, that the Syrian opposition is a fundamentalist organization. This morning at RIA Novosti, one of the leading Russian experts, this guy Yevgeny Satanovsky, head of this pro-Israeli but anti-American think tank in Russia, that he basically accused the United States of being allied with Al-Qaeda in Syria. Now, by Al-Qaeda, when Russians say that, what they really mean is Saudi Arabia. And, sort of the American respondents were that, this is just nuts. But you cannot convince them otherwise, that they really think, and it goes back to all these different things. In other words, that this is just like Afghanistan when we were there trying to, establish a progressive order, and you supported people like bin Laden against us, and look what it got you. It bit you, didn't it? And this is the exact same thing is going to happen to you with regard to Syria, but you keep on doing it, don't you? So this is what they see. In other words, whatever bad is happening in Syria, it will be worse otherwise. That's how they see it.
So clearly they have a very jaundiced view of the region and of
pessimistic,
the potential for democracy in the region. And on that note, I think we'll end. We'll certainly be watching the Russian calculations vis-a-vis Syria and hoping they do change their position as the regime starts to crumble, if in fact it does.
Yes.
Thank you. Please join me in thanking Mark Katz.